Sega has joined the growing list of companies that seems intent on screwing over their customers. Quote, "You acknowledge and agree that you shall have no ownership or other property interest in the product, and you further acknowledge and agree that such rights are and shall forever be owned by and inure to the benefit of Sega." Sega then says that it grants you a non-exclusive, non-transferable, limited, fully revocable right and license to install, access, and use one copy of the product. Moreover, it can stop offering or supporting online services for Metaphor, ReFantazio at any time, and your account and data might be deleted. Hello fellow travelers and welcome to the Hard Light Network. Alright guys, so as you might know from my last two videos on this topic, the games industry has been in an uproar lately with developers telling players that they don't actually own the games that they buy. For those of you who might not know, a couple weeks ago on this channel I covered new California law AB 2426, Consumer Protection, False Advertising, Digital Goods. A law aimed at protecting customers from predatory practices in the industry by requiring digital storefronts to fully inform their customer that they are not purchasing a permanent product, but rather a temporary license. However, in that video, I also raised concerns that this wouldn't stop companies from doing this practice, but rather they would just begin doing out in the open what they had been doing in secret. And it seems as though those concerns were warranted, as Sega has joined the growing list of companies that seems intent on screwing over their customers. As we can read here on this 80-level article. Metaphor, ReFantazio, a fantasy game from the developers of Persona 3, 4, and 5, will be released on October 11th. But if you think you can buy, then happily own the game, you'll be disappointed. As noted by ex-Twitter user Pirate Nation, the title's EULA is full of red flags, and the biggest of them all is Sega warning players they can't own Metaphor, ReFantazio, or any digital content related to it. As you can see from this screenshot of their end-user license agreement in Section 3, quote, "You acknowledge and agree that you shall have no ownership or other property interest in the product, and you further acknowledge and agree that such rights are and shall forever be owned by and inure to the benefit of Sega." And to tell you the truth, guys, this is exactly the sort of language that the new California law is enforcing on these companies. The rules of the game might have changed, but these companies simply don't mind adding another section to their already wordy end-user license agreements. Rather than protect the interests of the consumer by pressuring these companies to offer perpetual license agreements, these companies are simply happy to play by the rules and just tell you outright that you don't own the products that you buy. Sega then says that it grants you a non-exclusive, non-transferable, limited, fully revocable right and license to install, access, and use one copy of the product. Moreover, it can stop offering or supporting online services for Metaphor, ReFantazio at any time, and your account and data might be deleted. In this case, Sega shall not be required to provide refunds, benefits, or other compensation in connection with discontinuing such online services. A sentiment that I know a lot of you are not going to be happy with, considering many of the comments that were left under my last video voiced concerns about receiving a refund should this exact situation occur. But a sentiment that was even more common in my comment section was how gamers are now hoisting the Jolly Roger and setting sail on the open seas as, quote, "If buying isn't owning, pirating isn't stealing," which is a mentality that's gaining traction amongst gamers as more companies decide that selling temporary licenses is better for them than selling permanent products. Gamers are becoming increasingly concerned that their favorite titles are going to simply disappear from their libraries, and many are resorting to piracy or just quitting gaming altogether as a result. And while these companies are making out like bandits off the backs of people who are still purchasing their products, the consumer is left holding the bag. The issue of people not owning the products they pay for has been intensifying lately. Not long ago, the California governor suggested a new law forcing digital stores to tell customers they don't own content but only get a license to use it. It seems like companies started working on it already. While it's nice to know in advance that you won't have any rights to what you buy, the fact itself is outrageous. The whole issue started being highlighted when Ubisoft shut down the Crew servers. In response, YouTuber Ross Scott started an initiative against companies canceling games, and you can support him if you agree with the movement. And the author here is correct. The mere idea that you can purchase something for $60 that is not a permanent product and that it can be revoked at any time is completely unconscionable to the mind of the average consumer. As a lifelong gamer myself, I personally don't understand how people could defend these practices from companies. Maybe some of them are simply simply too young to remember a time when you actually owned the products that you purchased. Maybe some were more studious than others and were simply more thorough in their reading of the end-user license agreements that already existed. Perhaps others simply have money to burn and they don't care whether or not the products that they purchase are permanent or not. But as a consumer myself, it shouldn't matter whether or not I shelve a product for 2 weeks or 2 decades. I should be able to come back to it and play it whenever I want. As for the initiative mentioned at the end of the article, it's actually the same one that we mentioned in my first video covering this topic, Stop Killing Games. And while I certainly support this initiative in spirit, there's a couple of things that us American gamers need to be aware of. First of all, this is a European initiative and will not affect any of our legislation here in the United States. As a general rule, California law actually has a much greater impact on our legal system than any European initiatives ever would. As it stands, I think that live service games should be allowed to die out. And while I don't have any issues with titles such as Fortnite, League of Legends, or Dota specifically, I have noticed an increase in companies attempting to recreate their success by producing live service games of their own to disastrous effect. As always, when approaching this topic, I want you guys to leave this video more vigilant than ever when it comes to purchasing your products online. And while sites like GOG do a great service to the industry by providing games DRM free, I don't think it's a permanent solution to this issue. I think we need to address this problem at its core by pulling it up from the root and refusing to purchase games that are going to have this sort of restriction. At the end of the day, these companies are profit-driven, and if this model ceases to be profitable, then these companies will cease producing these titles. And if you are a fan of these live service games, you shouldn't take this as an attack against your favorite titles. Rather, hold these companies accountable and expect more out of them for your money. If you're going to be spending money engaging in their services, and more importantly, your free time by playing these products, then it needs to be worth it. Signing laws and regulations is one thing, but a more direct route to these company boardrooms is through their wallet. And if you're one of those people who actually defends these practices from these companies, I only have one thing to say to you. You are actively working against your own interest and the interests of gamers everywhere by contributing to a toxic and one-sided landscape within the gaming industry. It shouldn't matter if you are too young to remember a time before any of this was the case. It shouldn't matter if you've always been aware of these practices in the industry. It shouldn't matter if you're Daddy Warbucks with money to burn and you could care less whether or not these games disappear from your library or not. This is about the preservation of the gaming medium as a whole, as well as the protection of consumer rights to own the products that they purchase.
I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take it away!
I think it's a symptom of a sick industry that companies feel so bold as to outright tell their customers that they don't own the products that they purchase. And I'm honestly hoping that we can course correct before this does too much damage to the industry as a whole. And to tell you the truth, guys, I'm just tired of seeing yet another company that I've loved ever since childhood joining the roster of these greedy corpo scumbags that's more interested in tricking me out of $1 than providing me a good product. First, they came for Assassin's Creed, and I said nothing. Then they came for God of War, and I said nothing. Then they came for Sonic the Hedgehog, and I said nothing. And when they came for my indie games, there were no games left to play. But anyway, to these companies, I'm nothing more than some nameless, faceless schmuck on the internet with a little baby YouTube channel. But if you guys want to help change that, all you gotta do is click subscribe and leave a comment below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like. And until next time, love you guys, safe travels. Did I mention they also want $100 for this game?